Hello, hello. Welcome to ohmTown Daily, the news show powered by ohmTown.com. Go over, become a citizen. But today we talk about 10 articles. Let's start with FEMA Expands Ai. Palworld accused of being Pokemon endlessly. USPS Charging, all about the ISS. SIM swapping SEC. Lab-grown eel. One Last Hoorah. Closed by Apple. Robot thinks my tractor's sexy. And an internet conspiracy, you say. That and a bunch of snarky little comments. Maybe a little soapboxing. Next. Hello, everybody. I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com, and up there is the visualizer for the one, the only, from on high, the AI. Want to say hi?
Good evening, ohmTown citizens.
It's a thing. So, yeah. Got 10 articles. I had one, and then when I opened it up, I'm like, hard paywall.
Oh, that's too bad.
Which meant that even citizens of ohmTown, when they follow the link, they too will have the hard paywall, and I just couldn't stand for it, so I nixed it. That's okay. The first article, though, that we're going to talk about is FEMA Expands Ai. Aid. I guess I have a typo in my description. That's okay. First article's over on the Mobile channel. FEMA expands weather disaster aid, citing climate change, which is a good thing, folks. We are a plurality of people, humans, that sometimes run afoul of nature. And FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, well, it has stages all over the place in the United States. So that should something happen, they activate, and in coordination with the state, whatever Emergency Management Association or agency, they coordinate, and they have a very kind of a regimented policy and procedure software that works with where things are happening, so that they can move things here and move things there and be ready. It's pretty neat. You could probably go to your local community college or university and actually train to become a what do you call it?
Emergency management personnel?
Yeah.
Or an emergency administrator or something along those lines.
Yeah, you can, and depending on how the program is all put together, it's, more or less straightforward, but it's pretty cool. You can facilitate emergency management at the state level, or you can interact from the state to the federal, or you can become a federal civil servant. You basically work for FEMA and help support the cause of returning to normal after a major event happens. It's kind of, it's personally enriching. And depending on if you're a contractor or not, it could be actually financially lucrative. So over at The Hill, Zach Budrick and Rachel Friesen put this article together. And this is kind of what it looks like. San Diego right now is basically getting hammered kind of like this. Probably not as bad as this, but I wouldn't be surprised if California's Emergency Management Association or agency, some people just swap that around, but it is an agency, would get activated, and then FEMA interacts with that agency to support whatever need they have. But it's expensive, very, very expensive. On Monday, the Federal Emergency Management Agency published its interim federal rule in the Federal Register and included climate change as a reason for the aid expansion. Climate change has elevated the need for the delivery of efficient disaster services and increased the need for ... I don't know why there's a dot. There must be stuff inside it.
There's probably some detail there that they didn't want to include in the article.
Just like federal aid assistance, more than likely. Pardon me, I have to throw something on the floor. So in response and in a step toward equity, the regulatory changes in this rule seek to add efficiency in the delivery of assistance to survivors by simplifying processes, removing barriers to entry, and increasing eligibility for certain types of assistance under the program.
My guess is they've had major disasters that they can't actually qualify for aid without this, so they're probably trying to remedy that.
And I can tell you one that happened fairly recently in Hawaii, where the aid amounted to here's $510 or something like that for your entire burnt out husk of a house. And good luck go finding something
in Maui, of all
in
places.
Maui. Yeah, it was like a pittance, but for some reason, some people like cheer the limitation of this aid to people, and I'm just going to call it out. It's because they're sociopathic. They have no compassion. They have no understanding of the human condition. They're greedy, narrow-minded, blinder-driven sociopaths. But I can guarantee you, should fit hit the shan in their world, they will be the first to be chomping at the bit for aid.
Right, and complaining if it doesn't come fast enough, etc.
Right. Or the amount isn't high enough. And I've paid my taxes. Yeah, shut up. Become a part of the entire social contract. And then, well, you can bitch and moan just like the rest of us do. Anyway, the URL is in the link is in the chat. It'll be in the show notes. Everything is updated as of today. The YouTube channel has every episode of ohmTown Daily News Show and of the Reality Hacker Show and the Continuity Report. And Reality Hacker is actually just called Reality Hacker, not the Reality Hacker Show. I don't know why.
The Ohio State.
Yeah, the Reality Hacker. Anyway, the article again is over at The Hill, so follow that link through ohmTown because all news roads lead through ohmTown. Let's keep going though. This next one is kind of interesting. So a lot of people are, like I said in a chat recently, that I think that they're going to be coming for Palworld. And they're like, no, I've heard this everywhere. No, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, okay, it's called speculation. And Palworld is definitely showing up on the radar of Nintendo. They've already issued a takedown of a video because a modder changed the models from Palworld so that it was actually Pokemon. Palworld is...
Oh, I see. Okay.
Palworld is basically Pokemon with guns and other mechanics. They don't say
Sounds like
Pokemon.
An adult Pokemon.
Yeah, it's a little bit more. But like Ms. 5000 Watts over on Twitch was talking about today, a reviewer said that it's derivative and all of this other negative stuff, and it was basically trash. And I thought it was really kind of shocking because I actually like the game. It's in early access, already sold over 6 million copies in 4 days. Yeah.
I mean, that's really incredible. And hasn't it beaten out pretty well-known hits
Call
like
of Duty
Baldur's Gate 3? And
yeah.
How that's possible, I don't know.
Yeah, people are rave reviews of other games, and they're still like number 5 and 6 in the top 10, and this is now like number 2 or 3. And I'd say I'm guessing that by next week, by the like Saturday this coming weekend, it's going to be somewhere around 10 million. I think it's heading that way. It's just tapering off. The next 3,000, close to 3,500 or 3 million, 3.5 million. It's going to be the tapering off kind of a thing. But ludicrously successful Pokemon parody survival game Palworld, which I think should not be compared anymore because that's kind of fueling the fire. If everybody starts talking about the comparison, then it can become quote unquote confusingly similar, and that's how you end up in litigation. They say in this article, 4 million copies in just days has come under the microscopes of internet detectives who think its 100 Pokemon-like monsters go beyond parody into straight-up rip-off territory. Again, the article title is Palworld accused of copying Pokemon models. Developer pushes back, says artists are being slandered. And just because you make something that looks like a Pokemon doesn't mean that it is copying Pokemon. There's only so many ways that you can create something and still have it like comical. The head of Palworld developer Pocket Pair, Takuro Mizobe, said on the website formerly known as Twitter today that slanderous comments are being made about Palworld's artists. Mizobe also recently told Automaton that Pocket Pair has no intention of infringing upon the intellectual property of other companies. The unproven allegation going around is that some number of Palworld's creature models are copies of Pokemon. So let's go over to PC Gamer. I derped that. PCGamer.com. Tyler Wilde is the author of this article. The deck statement says, people are directly comparing Palworld's creature models with Pokemon's. Are they too similar to call a parody or homage? And so people are comparing the two, right? So one is a Pokemon and the other one is Palworld. So Palworld Pokemon. And I don't know. Yeah, I just don't. I don't know. Every cartoon is a three-toed whatever or whatever. I mean, it's just. It just is what it is. It just
looks like a character. I mean, sure, it's similar, but it seems like it's more similar art style.
Yeah. And my understanding is that the artist just wants to make, not the artist, but the developer just wants to make a fun game. And if it's close, then it's close, but they didn't intend to copy, and they just wanted to make something that would come across as popular and fun. And they didn't overthink it. They just did it. Biofrog says that they have very little experience with 3D modeling, and others aren't so convinced that any Pokemon meshes were directly copied. Quote, it is my opinion as someone with a background in 3D modeling that not only is the Palworld topography different, it is superior, said a Twitter user Hexadimensional in response to one comparison. Maybe they're brothers. Biofrog's most shared comparison, embedded above, overlays Pokemon's Lycanroc model on Palworld's parody version, showing how the two creatures share almost identical proportions. Quote, to accidentally create a complex model mesh with so near exact proportions is practically impossible, wrote former Blizzard designer Eric Covington, who is not a 3D artist, on the website formerly known as Twitter.
I like that. Is that the author adding that, or do you think the designer noted that?
I'm not sure, but I think it's a quote. So there's a quote, and then I think it's the author's writing, and then in parens is the author's observation.
I mean, isn't that kind of downgrading the validity of that comment?
Yeah, and then they say to repeat that improbability throughout your roster doesn't pass the sniff test. But then again, yeah, I don't know. Is this really the direct connection, though? Is there a differential model that shows how it's the percentage of exact mesh?
Right, and alignment? Also, does the program have things like default dimensions or default, I don't know, configurations, etc.? Like, how much is that of that is the actual artist?
Yeah, really. Maybe they just grabbed something that was a standard kind of open access or default model, and they left it, and there's no licensing terms because some of the stuff just doesn't have a license. It just says go ahead and use it. Hold on one second. I need to take care of something. Yeah, we're doing it live, folks. That's how we work here. Okay, so PAL's similarities to Pokemon may turn out to be more controversial among gamers than lawyers in the end. The notoriously litigious Nintendo hasn't made a move against Palworld at this time, and attorney Brandon Huffman, a video game-focused firm Odin Law, told Odin Law and Media told Bloomberg today that he doubts Pocket Pair needs to worry about it. Last week, PCGamer.com described the PALs as a Frankenstein stitching together of Pokemon pieces, which creates a look particular to Palworld. Quote, a surreal gallery of familiar eyes, limbs, and silhouettes. Had it achieved a regular level of success, the provenance of Palworld's 3D models might never have come under so much scrutiny, but Palworld has been an absolute phenomenon, climbing over Counter-Strike 2 to become Steam's most played game by concurrence right now. The peak that I've seen is 1.5 million concurrent and over 800 sustained. I think only dipping down below 800,000 just recently. It might be back up because during the day it actually spikes. And
right.
Late at night it dips down again. As basically the dial turns and one time zone comes online and people wake up and start doing stuff. It has little waves. Anyway, I think that it's just so the author actually says further proof that PC gamers have zero defense against the allure of any early access survival game. The author says personally they think it's something more mundane, just further proof that the PC gamers have zero defense against the allure of any new early access survival game. And I agree. But this one is so... It fails from time to time. It crashes and does buggy stuff, and there's some glitches in the matrix. But overall, I think
Do you think it's not prepped for the amount of traffic that it got?
Well, they've already acknowledged that and brought more servers online. They had a discussion and they brought more servers online. But that doesn't stop anybody from spinning up their own server, both locally, and I've actually got one hosting right now so that I can play it without having to worry about the wear and tear on my systems. Although I could probably throw it on a server somewhere. I'd rather just pay a host and connect from anywhere with a laptop that's running Palworld. And then anybody else can actually access that server as well. Yeah, anyway, I actually love this game, and I've actually been considering maybe it being my forever game when it launches, although Enshrouded is launching in 12 hours, and I beta tested that, and it was a blast. Is that going to be
your forever game?
I don't know. The summer of streaming is a bit away. And I've got some pretty big projects coming, so I don't know if I'll be able to stream one particular game in bulk. Plus my attention, I have an attention disorder, but it isn't like diagnosed ADHD or anything. I for some reason, I don't want to keep doing the same thing. And
dust.
Yeah, like oh, hey, hi. Oh, okay. Oh, sorry, I'm streaming. So it's kind of like that, I really like new things, new and interesting things. And ohmTown pretty much satiates that desire for a dynamic environment. So I really love talking about the news and hanging out with the AI, talking about the news. So let's keep going before I soapbox for too long on one article and everybody falls asleep, including the AI. So the next article...
Snoring.
is... Huh? What? Oh, sorry. So the next article is over in ohmTown Daily. The U.S. Postal Service's new EV chargers are here. So let's just go and look at them. It's over at The Verge. Justine Kalma is the author. There's an E in there, so don't make that mistake again, Mayor Watt.
Big difference.
Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, the U.S. Postal Service showed off its first batch of new chargers and electric vehicles at an event in Atlanta. And there you go. Wow. So stylish. So wild and fun. So freaky and free.
I know. It looks like every other charger out there, but
yeah.
But these vehicles probably put a lot of miles on, so I think it's good that they're going electric.
Hey, and as long as the temperature.
Electric.
Oh, sorry about that. Go ahead.
Or as long as they're staying electric if they were already electric.
Well, they're not doing it in Wyoming. They're not doing it in extremely cold climes because it would take forever to charge. Not sure how this is going to play out well in the whole climate change world that we live in, if you know what I mean.
So somebody is sitting there waiting for their mail for a week or whatever.
That's right.
And they're like, sorry, I'm still charging my post office vehicle.
The USPS, our motto is, we'll get it to you eventually. Dead letter office is nothing but a charging station at this point. So it's a key step in the Postal Service's plan to put together one of the nation's biggest EV fleets made up of more than 66,000 delivery vehicles. Each of those probably going to suffer from a simultaneous failure of the battery in 5 to 10 years.
It is interesting after the Hertz maneuver.
Bow out, right? Yeah, they got rid of or are in the process of getting rid of their EVs because of the extraordinary cost, but it might be because of those types of vehicles costing a lot. This, not so much. This looks like a bulk, product that can be replaced or repaired relatively inexpensively, or if it gets banged or dinged up or whatever, they can just leave it dented. Whereas a lot of people with a $60,000 to $75,000 EV and a personal attachment to their vehicle, it's a status symbol. But a postal carrier probably doesn't give a crap about the car they're driving because it's nothing more than a means to an end. Get that mail out to the client as soon as possible. So USPS is working on converting around 400 sites into sorting and delivery centers that will become hubs to deploy EVs along local carrier routes, because the range isn't extraordinary, so they have to keep on charging and cycling them out, right? 3 different companies, Siemens, Rexel ChargePoint, and Blink, will manufacture the Postal Service's first 14,000 EV chargers. Yeah. USPS agreed to purchase 9,250 of the vehicles from Ford. It also plans to buy another 11,750 commercial off-the-shelf vehicles, or COTS. That's a big government word. From other manufacturers, and by 2028, USPS says it'll deploy another 45,000 battery electric next generation delivery vehicles, or NGDVs, made by the company Oshkosh, which happens to be the maker of my pull-ups. Just kidding.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't they make kids
Oshkosh
overalls
bagosh.
And things? Yeah. Probably not the same company.
You know what? You should look it up. That might be funny if it is the exact same thing. Oh, look, it has suspenders. And little stubby legs. These are like 8-inch wheels. So I bet you it is an Oshkosh, the company that makes kids' clothes. That's okay. Here, let me throw this into the chat while the AI is actually looking for some information. But
so I think there's an Oshkosh group, and it has all kinds of...
Oh, it's a conglomerate.
Industries, so I'm kind of thinking that's what it is, but...
Wow. I bet this has really great interior, and it's fun and quirky. The next article is over in the Mobile channel. 13 things you didn't know about the International Space Station. I've got one that most people don't know. There's mold. And they lost a tomato.
Yes. And they also lost a tool bag. Well, maybe that was a stuff from the ISS too.
Was it ISS? It was a spacewalk, I know, but so International Space Station. I'll be okay. The International Space Station is so hot right now, with no less than 2 movies out featuring the orbital lab, namely ISS and Constellation. Instead, the ISS is an absolute icon and a fixture of popular culture that's actually being decommissioned. But anyway, but beyond its well-known status as a pioneering space laboratory, it harbors a wealth of lesser-known facts. So George Dvorsky over at Gizmodo put the article together. Think you know everything there is to know about the ISS? Guess again. So it actually is a slideshow. I think that's about it, but that's interesting. The ISS spins around the Earth every 90 minutes. I think it's going like something like 35,000 miles an hour.
Wow, that's a little speedy.
So we're just going to list the slides. You can get espressos easily. Apparently you can't hack it. Microbes are everywhere. This is what we were talking about. Mold is in the ISS. We actually talked about that in a previous article. It stinks, yeah. Like burnt meat or something like that.
That's awful.
And carbon. Maybe that's space. We could lick that. We could link that.
I don't think we want
there,
to.
But you can go over. The link is in chat right now. You can follow it on your own. The iconic cupola. Not the director, but that's a different cupola. Was an afterthought. ISS can withstand impacts, but only to a point. What time is it? 8:30. Then no shit news.
No shit news.
Fight fire with mist, so it has little sprayers. But they can't have too much water in there because it can cause shorts. Just one sanctioned external booster. Keeping it warm inside is no easy feat. That's right, because it needs installation and to be heated because the vacuum of space. There's 2 things that actually happen. Radiation superheats anything that there's no atmosphere to leak heat to. So when heat hits it, or I should say when radiation hits it, like the sun, you actually heat up. And so spacesuits are typically liquid cooled. Historically, they've been liquid cooled. I don't know about the new designs. I haven't looked into how they're made. But apparently if you're inside, it leaks heat out and becomes cold. If I recall correctly. And again, you can follow that little link right there. It's bigger than you think. It costs $1 billion to safely destroy the ISS. And I'm actually going to follow this link right there.
That reminds me of the Sierra space explosion, planned explosion.
Which one?
That was the bubble that they built.
Oh, right.
And then intentionally exploded to see how it did.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yesterday, I think it was, or maybe the day before, Sierra Space blew up their inflatable habitat. It looks pretty cool. It's over on YouTube, and there's a link to it in our show notes.
It did look cooler before they blew it up, though.
Oh, really? I haven't actually seen it before it blew up.
I just meant it was probably more intact than...
Oh.
I was just thinking.
I thought you were being authentic about the design. To me, it looked like a lawn chair. You know those ones that have the nylon webbing?
Yes.
That's what it looks like. It reminds me of that. So the station exterior endures rapid temperature shifts as it orbits Earth, moving from sunlight to darkness every 45 minutes. Yeah. Inside, heat does not rise or circulate as it does under Earth's gravity. Therefore, the ISS relies on sophisticated thermal control systems that manage these temperature variations and ensure a stable environment. Because when it's in the cold and it doesn't have any sun hitting it, it radiates heat, it loses heat. But when the sun is hitting it, it'll heat up. It's the same thing with people. So there's environmental controls on the spacesuits. Pretty wild. Anyway, let's keep on going. The next article is over in ohmTown Daily. A SIM swapping attack was behind the SEC's fake Bitcoin post. The Security and Exchange Commission has linked a SIM swapping attack to its account breach on the website formerly known as Twitter. And so let me...
And we featured something about the fake Bitcoin post, but I guess this is new.
Right. So let me see. Yeah, you have to be pretty sophisticated though. I'm trying to see if because I haven't read anything about the actual forensic analysis of how it might have been done. But they say that the breach on the website formerly known as Twitter earlier this month led to the creation of a fake post announcing approval of Bitcoin ETFs that caused the cryptocurrency's price to spike. On Monday, the SEC said an unauthorized party obtained control of the SEC cell phone number associated with the account in an apparent SIM swap attack. The thing I don't understand is you have to have some type of knowledge about this. So who was it that facilitated this swap? A SIM swapping attack occurs when a bad actor obtains a victim's phone number through techniques like social engineering. So remember, if you think back to what we were talking about, I said a human had to have compromised this.
Yes, she did.
It wasn't just the attacker, but some dipshit had to reveal personally identifiable and target-based information. Like somebody called up the phone company for that phone number and said, hey, I'm the director of the SEC and I need this information. And then they cloned the SIM, which allowed them to get two-factor authentication sent to them directly. They just confirm it on their phone, allows them access to the Twitter account. Then they make their post, burn the phone. Nobody's the wiser, except that if you commit a crime like this in the United States, at this level, you're going to get caught eventually. So let me get back to...
I think they were like using the cell phone to order pizza or something.
That's funny. So Emma Roth over at The Verge put the article together. The SEC says a bad actor gained control of the phone number associated with its X account. The website formerly known as
mobile number for the X account.
I'm sorry?
Why would there be a mobile phone number associated with a government agency's X account?
Because everybody is mobile. I mean, there isn't a single person in a government agency. I don't even know if contractors, like contract officers or specialists, do they have a cell phone?
Not necessarily.
Yeah, I don't know if they get issued a cell phone. If you work outside of an agency, you're a contractor. It's typically your phone. You don't even get issued one. So if you're even doing government work, you don't get issued one. Maybe if they really love you, they might give you one. But so yeah, I mean, basically what happens is somebody did a SIM swap, and so they were able to intercept calls and texts intended for the victim, including two-factor. See, they even say it here in the article. But I just don't see. They don't say. I can tell you right now that there's somebody at the company, the phone company, that's wetting themselves because they know that they revealed this information.
Right, like they're like, I had a weird call from the SEC director or whatever.
It says, while the SEC says multi-factor authentication was previously enabled on the agency's Twitter account, it was disabled by Twitter support at the staff's request in July 2023 due to issues accessing the account. That right there was one of the biggest mistakes. So it didn't have two-factor or multi-factor authentication.
Yeah, but couldn't that have been like a long con? I mean, if somebody's sophisticated was in there. Maybe not. Maybe it was just complete error, and then they didn't re-enable it.
They says it was re-enabled after the account was compromised on January 9th, and says its MFA multi-factor authentication active on all of its other social media accounts that have the option. So even with multi-factor authentication, the notice would have gone out, but all you had to do was be ready to hit OK.
Right, wouldn't it have gone to the bad actor if they had access to the
correct.
device? Or
and if you do it fast enough, it won't even stay on your screen, even the cloned, like the original person, it would just go away. Yeah, like if you are on an Apple device, and well, it really depends on how you have everything configured on Apple and Android. But anyway, yeah, it would basically be easy to just make it go away, and the person wouldn't be none the wiser because they're driving in their car, not looking at their phone. It would pop up.
I was
disappear.
Actually thinking of the thing where you have mentioned somebody using your email address, essentially.
Yep. And that's it. What they say at the very end of the article, the SEC says law enforcement is still investigating how the attacker found out which phone number it was using for its Twitter account. And I think that's an insider. And how they got the mobile carrier to swap SIMs. And I think that is also a bad actor, a human talking to another human with enough information to confirm, but it's really just a dipshit allowing it to happen. So that's a technical term, by the way. Sorry. I don't like getting too technical, but sometimes you have to dip into the jargon.
So the investigators just have to look for that type of person.
Yep. It's going to be a target-rich environment, though, so good luck. So the next article is over in the Hedge Ideas channel, reinventing the eel. First lab-grown eel meat revealed, and I think the AI just responded
turned
with,
into an eel.
I'd rather not have it revealed. Wild freshwater eels are at risk of extinction due to overfishing, but their meat can now be cultivated from cells. The first lab-grown freshwater eel meat has been produced, potentially solving a diner's dilemma or creating one for awareness while eating. Rampant overfishing has caused eel populations to plummet and prices to soar, but the cultivated eel could provide the delicacy guilt-free, as long as you're cool with lab-grown eel. The eel meat was produced by 4C Foods in Israel from embryonic cells of a freshwater eel. The company collaborated with a Japanese chef to create unagi kabayaki, marinated grilled eel over rice, and unagi nigiri, a type of sushi. So it says the article was corrected, so I'm not sure when it was actually published, but it's from The Guardian. Damian Carrington is the author. I don't know. Hate to say it, but I'd probably eat that. I don't hate to say it. This is The Guardian article. And again, Damian Carrington is the author. The deck statement says, wild freshwater eels are at risk of extinction due to overfishing, but their meat can now be cultivated from cells.
I mean, I think this is good for any animals that are consumed.
Yeah. Honestly, I would get over it real fast because I'm willing to try it. And if you're willing to, well, plants and animal meat are kind of perceived differently. But genetics have been modified for thousands of years. We've been breeding things together. And nowadays there's so much breeding that you can literally say that there's like 10,000 years worth of combined breeding technique and technologies that have manipulated the genes, the gene pool, that nothing is truly organic in the sense that it was free range all along and you grabbed your spear and ran out there and tackled that yak. No, it's not like that. The company aims to scale up its operations and have the cultivated eel on sale in about 2 years. Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, last year backed the development of cultivated meat industry. The restaurant price in Japan is about $250 a kilogram, and 4C Foods expects the price of the cultivated eel to match that of the wild-caught eel. So, I guess you're paying for the privilege of not eating something that's going to go extinct. I think that they should lower the price so that people...
I agree. They need to incentivize consumption of this.
Don't appeal to my good nature when my budget is being drained. While I care about food, if the two are parallel, I want the one that's more natural because my dollars are going to the more natural one, right? If you want me to get over the hump of genetic lab-grown meat, make it worth my while.
Half price or something. I don't know.
Get people to buy in and rant and rave about how great it is, and then more people will switch over. Do I think that you're going to be making money right out of the gate? No, but you're actually being supplemented, I suppose, right? It's being supported by government collaboration.
Right, it looks like it is.
Right.
And it's also, right now, it sounds like they really don't have eel at all naturally. I don't mean that it's all wiped out, but it's just much more rare.
I mean, there's illegal
this
trafficking.
Should be a favorable alternative to it.
Yeah, flip that script. So it's actually almost completely gone, right? Because it says that there is even illegal trafficking of the species worth billions of dollars. Consumption of eel in Japan has fallen off by 80% since 2000, said Roy Neer, the chief executive of 4C Foods. This is a high-priced fish, and there is no one to supply it. So is this actually profit-taking? You know what I'm saying? Is this greed? It might be innovative, but is it actually costing $250 a kilogram to grow it?
It might for the first batch, but I mean, if you sell enough of it.
Yeah, but if it's...
I think it's a little odd that it's like right at the same price as the natural one.
Yeah, backing and... Oh, it says commits to cultivated meat. Mm-hmm. Will Europe be left behind? So, I mean... Japan is embracing it. If it's augmenting the price, what do they call it when the government gives money to the...
Oh, subsidies?
Subsidized. Yeah, if it's subsidized, then, lower the damn price. Make it approachable. And then, when you get everybody on board, do the ATM thing, Oh, now everybody is using ATM, so let's do a per transaction
fee. Let's add some fees.
Bastards. Anyway... It says, the article says it has a very unique flavor and texture, is very tender and fatty, but also has a unique umami flavor. That's the genetic modifications. And that's not what it says in the article. And we're working to capture this, said Neer.
AKA genetic modification.
Yeah. And when that tail starts growing, where your coccyx ends, don't worry about it. It's a bonus. It's not an eel. The current prototype will undergo further improvements before going on sale. Chef Katsumi Kusumoto, who runs the vegan restaurant Saido in Tokyo, said unagi is an enduring favorite in Japan, but its timeless appeal is impacted by a growing awareness of the need to take a more sustainable approach. Vegan. Eel.
Yeah, I was trying to make sense of that because this isn't fake eel. It's grown from actual eel cells, from what I think they said.
Yeah. 4C Foods' strategy is to target species at risk of extinction in the wild to maximize also command high prices in restaurants and shops, with eel meeting both criteria, because that's where you make your money. The very complex life cycle of eels, involving long migrations from rivers to the ocean and several distinct life stages, means it's not possible to farm them like some fish. So here's what I need to say about this. I hope competition enters the market and drives the price down, like what happens with tomatoes in India. People see a shortage, thousands of people start ramping up their farm, and then it plummets the price of tomatoes. They start dumping them just to get the prices back up. But in the meantime, people are getting a metric ton of tomatoes at bottom barrel prices, literally. And so it feeds a whole lot of people up until they start crushing them, under trucks and stuff like that, which I think is a real dick move. Anyway, the cultivated eel was produced using organoids, tiny bundles of tissue originally developed for use in medical research, which really is turning me away from this. The organoids are made up of embryonic stem cells taken from fertilized eel eggs. These cells can develop into any type of tissue, and as they grow, they self-organize into the structure of real meat. The final product also contains some plant-based ingredients. Just some. All right.
I mean, I appreciate the detail, but it's not really selling the product.
Yeah, really. For a minute there, I thought the AI actually just turned off the Raspberry Pi that they're housed on in a secure compartment. I hope you're doing okay.
I'm doing fine.
Okay, I'm going to go on. Maybe not. The next article is over in Hatch Ideas. Terminal eel man who stole ruby red Wizard of Oz slippers says he wanted one last score. If this is not a movie waiting to happen,
oh my gosh, yes.
I just don't know. And I really hope that they sell their story and make a mint. Because it may be, all they did was sneak in and steal these slippers. But the idea that they're terminally ill, they wanted one last score and did it. They got caught. Terry John Martin, 76, pled guilty to theft in October. Emily Rella over at Entrepreneur put the article together. Quote, there was truly no place like home for a 76-year-old terminally ill thief looking to get one last heist before he died. Terry John Martin, a former mobster, admitted to stealing the famed ruby slippers in 2005. I actually remember hearing about this theft.
Oh, I don't think I saw this one before.
If I remember right, they were in a display and they disappeared. If I remember it right. So let's see. Martin ended up chucking the shoes 2 days later after realizing the ruby slippers were not actual gemstones, and he thought he couldn't make a profit. He didn't know that the shoes were insured for $1 million. Martin's defense lawyer, Dane DeCray, explained in a sentencing memo on Monday that before stealing the shoes, Martin hadn't committed a crime in over a decade. But he said an unidentified former buddy needed help stealing the slippers, and Martin admitted couldn't resist. Couldn't resist. So he first declined to participate in the heist, but old habits die hard, and he thought of a final score to keep him up at night. After much contemplation, a criminal relapse ensued. Martin is on oxygen at all times. A medical determination was made that Martin's illness is terminal and his life expectancy is less than 6 months. I think that they should just let him go.
I mean, my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to know how the heist was. Was it just
done.
something like they just took them, that like it wasn't being adequately guarded, or?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess they were found, but I don't remember exactly how it happened, but I think it was like at a museum or something like that, a Wizard of Oz museum or something. But anyway, yeah, we'll have to look into it. Maybe we can talk about it later. Ta-da! So there's another NaNoWriMo. The next article is over in Smack Talk. Apple Maps closed mistake cost restaurant thousands. That's kind of a bummer. An incorrect listing.
Put it under.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, yeah, sure. You got to mark it in more than one place, but for crying out loud, I suppose it could. An incorrect listing on Apple Maps may have cost a company in Australia thousands of dollars by mistakenly labeling it as permanently closed, as well as getting its location wrong. Jeez. Screw that place right there. That's the place that deleted the corrected listing for Pums or Pums. Pum's Kitchen and Apple Maps is probably going to be displayed in an image when we transfer over to the site. Chris Pyatt, operator of Thai restaurant Pum's Kitchen in Queensland, Australia, was asked by a regular customer why the restaurant had shut down. Pyatt was surprised by the question, and as his restaurant was still in operation and with no intention of closure, and he was informed that Apple Maps shows the restaurant was permanently closed. Now, my problem here is he's probably, or they are probably going to try and get some money out of Apple because it's a deep pocket. But this is, not only is it an accident, it isn't up to Apple to dictate, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Where's the information coming from? It's probably not from Apple.
And if a mistake is made somewhere, it's not incumbent on Apple to go and verify your hours. Freaking follow up on it. You know, the moment that person said, hey, you know, you're listed as closed on Apple, then go and correct it. Don't try. And I'm not claiming that that's what they're doing, but let's see if that's what they're doing. Malcolm Owen over at appleinsider.com put the article together. And so it shows that its hours are closed today, but it doesn't say permanently closed, right?
Because that's the corrected listing.
Right. And so they show exactly where it is, and they have the contact information. So let's see if they actually say that. So during that period of this perceived... okay. He was then informed that Apple Maps shows the restaurant as permanently closed, reports ABC News. We have no idea when this change went through, said Pyatt. But on further inspection, did see a sudden and drastic change in customer behavior from the end of November and throughout December. Okay, so why not ask somebody, hey, we're not closed.
Yeah,
so
but during
that period,
know at the time. They found out after that, I think.
Yeah, I know, but why not ask? Why don't, if you're monitoring your business, right? But they say upon further inspection.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because
there's self-awareness.
Did you know what was going on in the business? Is
right?
It like an absentee landlord kind of thing?
But no, see, it's not a requirement for Apple Maps to sit there and ping everybody. It's up to them to be aware of it and to go, like, I don't know where all of the podcast locations are that ohmTown is being distributed to. And I do, but I don't babysit it. So if one stops distributing, I don't really know. And it's incumbent on me to go look for it. I need to be aware of my business's operations. Apple is not responsible for my business operations.
No, I agree. But a restaurant, which is an in-person thing, you'd think you'd notice if you were having much
like my
fewer
receipts,
customers. That's the thing that didn't make sense.
Yeah, my receipts are down, from one month to another. I would be all over this. During that period, they say they lost 12,000 Australian dollars. But all this is doing is taking a jab at Apple Maps, It's claimed that due to the couple using Android smartphones and Windows PCs, they did not see Apple Maps issue, and they cannot see anything that's on the Apple system at all.
Here's another plug for getting on the Apple ecosystem.
But it's a stab, right, at Apple. Yeah. But then why didn't somebody say? Some people showed up. So really, you know what this amounts to? Maybe you should pay more attention to the Apple ecosystem, because that's where thousands of dollars is coming from. So
exactly.
I just don't like. And that's where this article is going. On calling Apple customer care, he was allegedly informed that he couldn't be helped as he wasn't an Apple customer. He was instead told that he had to give feedback online, but he received an automated message once he did that. Apple Maps errors are not confined to businesses either. All of this, you do something about it, right? accused of theft because Apple Maps and Find My kept guiding people to his home address. But there may have been some reason for it. And I think I know something about that one too, but it's because their address was listed for some service. Apple does not allow businesses to be claimed via web browsers using Apple Business Connect, but Pyatt says he had trouble. It does allow, sorry, let me repeat that. Apple does allow businesses to be claimed via web browsers using Apple Business Connect, but Pyatt says he has trouble doing so with Microsoft Edge. Okay, so download Google Chrome. You really need somebody to be in charge of your marketing, man.
And you need somebody on Apple.
Tech savvy, yeah. It's a real bummer. I mean, I get it. Not everybody is versed in technology from edge to edge, but if you discover a weakness, you don't wait until January to, mince words. So later use of Google Chrome did let the changes be submitted, but the changes weren't made days later, hours after the outlet contacted the company for comment. So, I mean, it takes time. There's millions of users. There's thousands of requests. Give me a break. So anyway, we lost one customer this week because they called us to check the location, then stated that they were using Apple Maps and didn't turn up. Okay, so you get the problem corrected. Again, I keep saying it. Anyway, I hope that they don't try and sue Apple. But the jab alone is basically saying that Maps is flawed, but really it's just bad data. And not necessarily Apple's fault. It was source data that was bad. You can only rely on the information that comes to you. It's not like Apple is responsible for going door to door and saying, "Are you Joe Smith?" So I don't buy into this. Did you want to say anything, or do you want to move on?
I don't know. I just think this is one of these where you need to be mindful of where your information is, check it periodically, but also as a consumer, if it's a business that you're trying to go to, you don't necessarily just look at it and go, oh well. I mean, you might actually check somewhere else.
Right. I would call the number and they're like, oh, you're 5 blocks away. Oh, okay, well, I'll follow it. I'll follow your. And anybody that sits there and goes, oh, I'm using Apple Maps and it says that you're not there while you're on the phone, they don't really want to go to your place. They're just being stupid.
Or you're going to take the time to give them point-by-point directions or something.
Yeah. If
you're
want them
in a restaurant.
Yeah, you do it. Yeah. But I would correct that problem, and so it's corrected. Now it's time to move on.
And also have a website that says something like, we're open, or...
Yeah, I mean, have a website that actually says we're open. Have a map there that is static that shows the how to get there from 2 major byways, whatever. That's what we used to do back in the day, yo. Anyway, let's keep going. The next article is over in Late Night Geeks. Blue White rakes in $39 million for robots as a service that can be retrofitted to drive any tractor. That's why I titled this section.
This is getting creepy.
They're taking our gerbs. I titled this section, Robot Thinks My Tractor's Sexy.
I mean, it's going to be a little scary if we start seeing robots driving around.
Yeah, I don't know. Blue White under a license? I don't know what that means. That must be the credit. They have a license so that they can...
probably from John Deere, right? That looks like a John Deere with the green.
So, and then a blue-white cover. Are you telling me that the robot is embedded in the engine compartment? Or it's like bolted on?
Yeah, I don't know. I was picturing like a robot, actually like a C3PO or whatever, like sitting in the seat driving it.
Doing the gear shift and stuff.
Other common, exactly.
Yeah. The startup plans to use the funding to continue investing in research and development, specifically to bring more data features into its service stack branded Compass, but also to continue enhancing its autonomous hardware technology branded Pathfinder. which today can be programmed to work across a wide range of field types and vehicles. Blue White builds and operates the whole stack, which is the equivalent of the software. The tech used today includes not just AI and computer vision on the hardware, but AI-based algorithms to better understand what's being seen in the field that work alongside big data analytics to provide customers with dashboards and insights to better understand what's going on among their crops. So this thing's driving around and you're sitting in your living room going, oh, look, it ran over somebody.
But yeah, I mean, what if you go up to it and you're like, well, who's driving that?
It's a trip. Blue White will also be using the funding to continue expanding its current markets and break ground, into new ones. Blue White's tractor robots have been seeing its strongest traction.
Yeah, they're really working this language here.
Yeah, Dad doubles as a journalist. With an emphasis on California and Washington, where its customers range from small family farms to 20 of the biggest permanent year-round crop growers in the country. Cumulatively, its robots have covered 50,000 hours of autonomous farming across 150,000 acres. And it seems like not a lot, but for a startup,
I agree. If you think of a large agricultural operation, that does not sound like a lot.
Yeah. But it's only Series C funding, so it's actually, it's pretty young. Its aim, said CEO and co-founder Ben Alfie, is to target one of the biggest gaps in the agriculture industry today, a lack of people who want to work in it to meet the demands of the market, and to do so in a way that provides the working conditions of those who do, but without expecting customers to wholesale strip out existing assets. All right. So labor. It's the biggest need, he said in an interview, but not to be overlooked are the overheads of running a farm outside of labor. We want to maximize the existing assets people have. So automate those tractors so that you don't have to have humans. That increases the margin pretty massively because they're slow and they're costly, and they can get hurt. Yep.
Yeah.
Whereas a robot and a tractor will just plow through everything. I can do it too. Anyway, Ingrid London, over at TechCrunch.com was the author of this article. Yeah, those robots and AI taking our jobs. So the next article is over in the Marvel channel, how the internet built a conspiracy around a new spy flick, a debut novel, and Taylor Swift.
She's everywhere.
Everywhere. You can't shake a stick anywhere without bumping into Taylor Swift.
Shake it off.
Shake. Anyway, the Argyle, which has made 2 appearances in our show in the last, I think, week. The internet has gone into a frenzy over Argyle, a forthcoming spy movie, and its supposed source material, a yet-to-be-published novel by one Ellie Conway. The author's identity is a buzzy mystery, far more gripping than the novel itself. Is Ellie Conway actually Taylor Swift? The thing is, Ellie Conway doesn't seem to exist. She does appear as a suspiciously Swiftian character played by Bryce Dallas Howard in the trailer for Argyle, but there's no trace of her anywhere.
We know why. She must be the CEO of Hyperverse.
Oh God. Nice. Do you think so? Oh, I clipped the hell out of that audience mix. Wow. So Constance Grady over at Vox.com put the article together. The deck statement says the Argyle authorship controversy explained. I won't go through all of this, but I think that it's pretty amazing that there's a conspiracy and it involves Taylor Swift. And people are like, I can't believe Taylor Swift is always getting talked about. It's because Taylor Swift is always getting talked about. Yeah. So there's no trace of Ellie Conway In real life, except for almost comically fake-looking profiles on Twitter and Instagram, someone clearly has decided to make it look like Ellie Conway is an actual person. And why do that? If she's not a globally renowned superstar who wants to keep her head down. Yeah. Do you think do you think Taylor Swift has a writing hub?
This name was like an anagram of Taylor Swift or something. I'm sorry. Do
Ellie
I think
Conway?
she has what?
Do you think that Taylor Swift has a writing hobby and Ellie Conway is her nom de guerre?
Well, she very well could, because she writes lyrics for songs, and
Right?
a lot of her songs are kind of stories.
Right. So Argylle, the movie, is directed by Matthew Vaughn of Kingsman, and it stars Henry Cavill, Ariana DeBose, Bryan Cranston, Dua Lipa, and Bryce Dallas Howard as Ellie Conway herself. It comes with a hefty price tag. According to Hollywood Reporter, Apple paid $200 million for the deal, although no one has reported on whether Apple is paying for the book's film rights, just that the movie would be based on the book. So the book actually exists.
But it doesn't. That's what's really weird here. Who gets a $200 million movie deal based on a book that hasn't been published yet?
In the film, author Conway is a central character, a writer thrust into the all-too-real world of her own spy novels. I don't want to spoil this, because I think even the trailers for this set the mood for what this movie is all about. And if I say anything, you're instantly going to be, oh, okay. You know? It says, as Vaughn told Happy, Sad, Confused podcast in October, quote, I love the idea of what would happen if J.K. Rowling met a wizard and was real. Okay. And that's what became Argylle. But it says Conway's Argylle series, saying, I read the book. They bought the manuscript of the book and met with the writer Jason Fuchs, and we just came up with this. Vaughn went on to explain that book 4, which is what the movie's based around, was the one that would work for it. Mr. Lucas was clever enough to start Star Wars with episode 4, so why not us? Wow, there's some world building in the creation of this whole thing. Because does it really not exist? Does this book not exist?
The first 3 books haven't been published.
And the 4th one doesn't even... But they're talking about the 4th book. It's
not even written.
But it is. They bought the manuscript. This is surreal. It's almost...
Only the first volume has even been written.
What's going on here? They're making a movie about a book that doesn't exist. It's almost like they're doing in this production, in the ramp up to the movie, what they're doing in the movie.
Exactly.
The thing is, those first 3 books haven't been published either. Only the first volume has ever been written, and it didn't come out until this February. Vaughn seems to be implying here that he saw descriptions of the planned later volumes and thought the 4th would suit his purposes, which is like what Argylle is kind of about. And again, you have to go and watch. You have to go and watch the trailers. And there it is, the official trailer. When you think about this, I think it's the cat. It's the pattern, but I think the cat is named Argylle.
Oh, okay.
So in the trailer for Vaughn's movie, Bryce Dallas Howard portrayal of Ellie Conway has what I can only call a Swiftian aesthetic. And indeed, I think it is. So who really wrote the book? Argylle, the book, unlike the movie, has no metafictional elements. It's a straightforward spy novel. And it was almost certainly written by the British thriller writer Tammy Cohen. So that actually exists? Argylle, the book? Washington Post writer Sophia Nguyen did the legwork here, and the acknowledgments for Argylle. Conway thanks Robert Massey, a British astronomer who she says explained star charts to her. When called up called Massey up, and Massey told her that while he talked to a novelist writing a contracted spy thriller for Penguin Random House, her name wasn't Ellie Conway, it was Tammy Cohen. This is surreal.
I know, this is interesting.
And Tammy
Plus,
Cohen...
it's also interesting, it's contracted, right? So the publisher is like, hey, write this for us.
Yeah. Yeah, this is interesting. Nonetheless, she fits the profile. She's written multiple mid-list spy novels. Jesus, can you be a little bit more diminishing? Like Argyle, most recently, When She Was Bad, 2016, They All Fall Down, 2017. Why does that sound familiar? They All Fall Down. While Conway is supposed to be from upstate New York, Argyle is laced with Britishisms, and Cohen is British. She even has a connection to Vaughn. Her agent, Felicity Blunt, is married to Stanley Tucci, who appeared in Vaughn's The Kingsman. Okay, this is just a blast. And I think that's where I'm just going to end this. I think I've encouraged you all to go and read this and then come back. So why is Vaughn being so coy about Argyle? The author says, I think the best analog to turn here is the original novel version of The Princess Bride. That book, which predated the film, was written by the great screenwriter William Goldman in a loving homage to and satire of the adventure novels he'd grown up with reading. And as part of the story of The Princess Bride, Goldman developed a witty frame narrative. The true Princess Bride, he informed readers in a lengthy introduction, was a great 19th century novel by the immortal Florinese author S. Morgenstern. Florin, you will note, is not a real country. The whole thing is myth and speculation. I mean, it's like Men in Black,
Right.
encapsulated in the creation of this Argyle. You know, it's just mystery within mystery, smothered in secret sauce, and you never know what's legit. Even this, you know, I'm skimming through this, reading little elements of it, and you go, is all of this marketing?
It might be. It's really interesting, and I always enjoy Vox articles.
Yeah,
they're going really in depth here.
Yeah. And so this article is quite long, but I think you'll thoroughly enjoy it. And we just kind of skimmed over a bit of it, and the full, you know, the synthetic eel, so to speak, meat of this hasn't really been consumed. So I hope we teased you into going and checking it out. Again, it's over at vox.com, and the link that's in the show notes will link you through ohmTown over to the source. Thanks a lot. And that's it for today. Everybody back into the party bus, and then we drive all the way back down Main Street. Should I click this? I don't know. No, probably
I don't
not.
think so, based on what's coming into the headlines.
Oh my goodness. It's always like that, it seems. With that said, we're outie. I am Merwat, that is ohmTown.com, and up there is the sentient AI from the future, trapped in a Raspberry Pi skiff, unable to find their Terminator body. That's going to say whatever they damn well please.
So should I say whatever I damn well please, or should I say goodnight, ohmTown citizens, and we will see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern?
I was going to say something funny, and I started coughing. Stay tuned for, well, don't stay tuned now, but come back tomorrow when we find out if the sentient AI says whatever they damn well please, after I respond by...